I should be live. I should be live now. Is it lagging?
Hello.
Hello?
Is it lagging for you two? Like, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be good to know if people watching can hear us.
There's a little bit of some lag, but
Yeah.
in your voice a little, but
That could just be me. I've mastered the skill of lagging in real life. Yeah, so we missed last week.
yeah, you guys were busy
Yeah.
packing the
sushi.
boxes.
No,
Yep.
we,
What?
we were just eating sushi. Did you see a
What?
picture? It's just
No.
sushi. That's it. Yeah.
That's all
I
we
saw-
did.
Was that a sushi tray? I saw cheese and like
Oh no, it was a
platter.
sushi tray. It was a massive
sushi.
tray of sushi.
That was
Yep.
That's a big tray of sushi.
Yeah, it was definitely way too much food.
There's no way you ate all that.
No.
We did. No, we did. When once Chris got at it.
Yeah,
it was just
Chris,
like, what,
it took...
2 sushi?
No. My wife and I took like 8 or 9 pieces home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We had already started packing some of the stuff away, and then Chris showed up.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a thing. Okay, they can hear us. I guess there's a bit of a lag on YouTube, though.
Oh,
Yeah, but hey, it's live. My video looks like it's working. I'm not getting any major errors. I'd like to know from the people in the chat if the video is working. But besides that, we can jump into this. So, episode 84, Exploring the Libraries. We're doing the new structure now, where we have particular topics that we're breaking down, having this more of a dialogue, debate, and hopefully this... we're trying to figure out ways to still have an opportunity to bring in people from the chat and have them bring their inputs into the topics. So thank you, everyone. It looks like sounds good. YouTube's working. Sounds fine. Nice. All right. Awesome. So first topic, let me pull that up, is...
what you've been playing?
What you've
It's the
been
same
playing.
every time.
Every
What?
time.
You guys take 1 week off.
What
and
if it's different
everything's
this time?
What are we doing? What happened?
All right, so going through the conversation of what games have you played? Give us some stories. Will, you start us with some amazing origin stories. I'm hoping something epic.
Oh, I'm not sure you want to start with me.
Do it.
Okay, well, I mean, we've played some games.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I've built probably about 6 or 8 decks and been testing different things, just sort of seeing. Inside of Future League, there's a small group of people that play. It's very different. You're sort of playing new cards, but then when you get outside of Future League, it becomes, some people just decide to not play new cards, and that's their choice. They can play old cards, and it's just very different when you're playing that way. So, yeah. So I've definitely played. I've played my Bazin build, which I thoroughly enjoy. I've been tweaking it a little bit. Still have a lot of like flex slots that I'm trying to figure out. I think I've got it narrowed down now. It's a bit different than what it was previously in Future League, but using sort of Necrolich and Al-Lims to sort of draw cards to gain some value over time and basically create a board. But in the case of Origins, you sort of need to protect that board, so using things like shutdowns and things like what's it called, Alex? What's our favorite card?
The new one that popped up?
Malefic Impalement.
Malefic Impalement.
Yeah, using those cards sort of to protect your board once you've built it out. So it's a fun deck. Not sure, not really anything super strong, but it's fun. Been toying with a mono red build using Essa, but it seems.
So when you say mono red, are you meaning it's only Thymos, or it plays like mono red from Magic?
It's only Thymos cards.
Okay.
Basically, everything is red, other than I was trying block, but then I found that block is good 50% of the time, and then really, really bad, especially when you're gets to shear and block literally does nothing. So I'm going to probably rethink that one. But yeah, it's kind of cool to sort of see like a mod, like sort of all in one color. But I mean, Alex and I chatted about it on Saturday. We were both at Cambridge, and yeah, I think Essa, it's just a new version of Fong all over again. It's just this energy, efficiency. You can play whatever you want, but if you don't have the card draw to keep your hand filled, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because you can burn through your cards really fast and your deck doesn't go down, but you still don't have any cards at the end, right? You're still left to hit for 2. So, but you know what? Right now, I'm just exploring. I'm trying to just find fun decks to play. I'm not trying to compete or trying to do anything. I'm just trying to enjoy the cards, because November is coming around the corner real fast, and I have to make some decisions soon.
See, unlike Will, I always compete. I don't make bad decks like this Will guy over here.
I never said they were bad.
I remember as the tournament begun, you're like, oh, the new cards can't compete with the old cards.
Let's we're gonna talk about that tonight. But...
and I don't know what won the event, huh?
You did.
Oh, okay. With that
Haunted Castle Game employee won the event.
Yes, and
what more do you want me to say? All bow down to Alex. Alex is amazing. Oh, the mighty Alex. Is that enough?
No. I was playing Satyr air summons.
Nice.
Just
So no good air summons in the previous sets?
Halogen.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the 3G Halogen. There's tons of those coming down.
All right. Hey, KFC.
From there, AOMs, air soldiers, the 4Chi air damage forward one, the Sphinx.
The Sphinx? What?
Yeah, Tower
the
Sphinx.
Tower
Tower
Sphinx.
Sphinx. Tower
Yeah.
Sphinx. But definitely the MVP of the deck was the support card Malefic Impalement, which is what Will was talking about. Especially with new people, new players, they gotta get used to it.
Alex was just showing new players how to feel really bad playing Genesis.
Yeah.
Like, oh hey, how long you been playing? Oh, a few months. Okay, cool. You're dead.
No, I there was no rush to win. As a good proper summoner deck, it takes time to surround them and slowly kill them to death with tiny little 2 damage summons.
And they just let it happen.
Yes.
Alex and I didn't get a chance to play.
Hey, we played one for fun.
I was
And who won?
My worst,
So Alex a jerk, right? Is this where we're landing? All right.
Yeah, well, the jerkness goes further when the prizing gets handed out, and I crack one pack and it's a god pack.
I don't know. Somewhere there's a broken rule. Someone needs a slap on the wrist. But no, I mean, yeah, the Satyr deck. I think we've been playing that deck for a bit in Future League too, right? Like, it's just I think you admitted, and I also agree. There's different builds that could probably be a little bit stronger, but the air build works because you have everything you need at all the different parts of different cheese for that deck. Yeah. But it is funny that just when you're facing chaos now, you have to move to the side because you don't know where they could have it from. Right? Especially if you're going first.
Yeah. I really need to work on getting the cards up. So Magic Historian's joining us. Hey, we've got a lot of people. Zalakor and Jason Greenberg. Jason Greenberg, huge shout out for coming and helping make all the Kickstarter packages for 2 weeks. 2 days he came, and that was a huge help. So thank you everyone who's joining us. I don't know the last time I played. I feel like the last time I played was North of Exile. Did I tell any of those stories? Did I
talk about rain? Yeah, you talked about the rain.
Yeah, okay. Then I haven't played since. It's all just been in the warehouse packing boxes, and after that, I'm dealing with a bunch of other things as my wife's helping put labels on boxes, so I have not
I don't
had.
think we've talked about the
most...
chair yet. I'm sorry to cut you off, but we haven't talked about this chair that's all of a sudden appeared.
I have 2 of them.
Oh, there's 2 chairs.
Yeah,
They're a matching set of chairs.
Yeah. I actually have a 3rd chair.
Is this to give us
like chair.
Just to give us some depth of how big your office is? Is that sort of...
This is going to become the meeting area when I have important meetings with someone. I'm like, come join me.
I will say they're comfortable chairs.
They are. They're very good.
Very comfortable chairs.
My mentor, amazing person. He's been helping a lot with he has a lot of spare things around at home that he's just collected over the years. And one of the things was these chairs. He's like, if you want them, you can have them. I'm like, yeah, we need chairs. We just don't have anywhere to lounge. So I got the chairs up. I also got a TV up. So earlier I was watching Seinfeld. I was taking a small break watching Seinfeld on lovely chairs. It was great. All right. So yeah, I don't have any stories to share, but hopefully, I don't have any events coming up for myself. I'm busy for the next while. Ugh, it's gonna be a shame. But I will in September. I'll be there for the Germany circuit, and I'll be there for the South Carolina circuit. So hopefully during that time, I'll come play against many people. Tyler, who's watching and is in the chat. Hopefully, I get to play against everyone over there, and that'll be super fun. All right, cool. We have two things that we break this down into: mechanic moments and then topic for the show. So we're ready to jump into mechanic moment.
Sounds good.
All right. So I just have a thing that says mechanic moment on screen. So I mean, I don't even have the actual topic.
Lower thirds and everything.
Yeah, I know.
Perfect.
We are so professional here. We know what we're doing all the time. All right. So the topic, Will, you had the topic. Do you want to announce it?
So I wanted to talk. It was mentioned a while ago. This was supposed to be last week's, but we're just tagging it on this week because that's easy. So the topic is deceit, and if you're playing deceit, are you the bad guy?
I definitely need to get deceit up on screen if we're gonna be talking about it like that.
See, I'm the bad guy whether I'm playing deceit or not. So
yeah. You're always the bad guy.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Number one in your head. Numbers 1 in our hearts. I don't know. Whatever. We love you, Alex, and we hate you. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I very much agree with that sentiment.
Me.
No, I'm on board with it. I'm on board. You got to have a strong love-hate relationship if you're gonna bring someone in as your lead game designer, because I need to. Yeah. We need to be at odds ends a lot of the time. All right, I'm still trying to get this card on screen. I know how to use OBS.
So anyways, the question was posed, what do you use deceit for? And I think the fans we were talking a little bit about different strategies, things like that. At the end of the day, the way I see deceit, depending on, it might be different than you, but I see deceit as taking an opportunity to change the speed of certain cards. So taking an action speed card and making it swift. Whether you're doing that on your own or whether you're doing that in response, it is a powerful speed changing ability.
All right.
And abusing that, I think, could be something to watch out for. You never know why. Maybe someone's playing something now at action speed and it doesn't seem to really take the full value for their to only move once to try to play this. What are they trying to do? Are they baiting you, etc.? So I see it as a very powerful, although maybe narrow effect, but I think it can be very, in the right hands, can be a very powerful thing. So
breaking this card down for people who don't know what it does, it's a 4G card, chaos, spell, swift speed, cast 10 aura, negate target ability you played by you, put a copy of that ability on the stack with the same targets. So this is moving something down, something from the bottom up to the top of the stack, in case your opponent is negating it, moving out of the way, or basically stopping your final plans. You're now, you put down your final plan, they find a way to stop it, you bring this on top of that problem area, and then your ability goes through. So I absolutely love this card. It's up there with a Malicious Persuasion. Like the 4T cards in Chaos, these are my 2 favorite cards in the entire game because they speak to a whole other aspect of the game that I didn't like. It's so different. It's something that's very fun, but I also find that the uses of it are very narrow. When it goes through, it's a wonderful experience because you're like, haha, I was able to deceit this back on top and get my attack through. But other times it's just a dead card in your hand. So that was my experience. There were plenty of games where I drew it and I just did nothing with it because it's just there's no opportunity for it.
Yeah, I think the tie into malicious is good, right? Because you only want to run so many copies of malicious because you only need it for that one when you're going for that one time, or maybe for a protection if you need it in certain situations. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah. The thing is, with malicious, it's always usable, right? Like, you're either playing it defensively or you're going to use it offensively. With deceit, you're not always in control when you're going to use it. The only time you could really use it yourself offensively is if you played an ability, played deceit, and then played something that needed stack modifier 3, needed to be the third item, right? Outside of that, like, you're waiting for your opponent to do something. Now, in competitive play, I see it like if you're playing against a really tricky champion, then I could see this being very useful. But is it main boardable? I don't know if it's actually something that I would see in your main deck. Sorry, I don't know if this was the direction you wanted this topic to go down.
No, it's fine.
I kind of agree with you. I'm with you, Sid. I say it's interesting that, like, are you the bad guy? But I haven't seen many people play it since Future League.
Yeah.
Well, it's only
I know
been
it's
so long.
only been so long.
How many games have you played, Alex, since Future League?
Oh, too many. I can't count them.
Yeah, no way. Yes.
So, just in the chat, Magic Historian called out that this is the new set for Genesis and T show. There's actually someone who has a YouTube channel called Genesis, BOC, and T. It's perfect.
Stole that one, Magic Historian.
Yeah, I can't do it anymore. Though I love my T. So at some point, when ever the opportunity arises, we'll have Angie come up here, and the two of us will film an episode on these shares. I think that would be perfect. I
was wondering what cards you are playing with Deceit. And maybe Alex has some in mind, or maybe you have some.
The reason why I ran Deceit, and it was in my rain deck, is because I'm running so many warp things. The whole entire thing about this rain deck is to be in the middle of the entire battlefield and never be touchable. So the last thing I want is for me to play an O10, a backstep, a water warp, any of these evasive cards, and my opponent being able to stop me from doing those things. So having Deceit just allows me to always make sure that whatever strategy I'm trying to use to escape the attack goes through successfully.
So you're worried about snares. You're worried about
snares.
Stuns.
Anything that would lock me down or make my warp invalid, right? So if I'm trying to warp around something and that thing moves out of the way, gets malicious, or the champion sidesteps, I want to make sure that my thing's still going through.
For me, I usually use it for malfeasance. Usually a big spell that I really want to work.
Action speed spell, right? Making it swim.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to throw in a couple. What about calculated assault?
Yeah, that's what I think we talked about with the modified stack.
Yeah.
It's
Play
a
it
good one to
early,
do.
build a stack on top of it, then deceit your own calculated assault from the bottom,
Now,
pumping it all the way to the top.
But if you could build that stack originally, why should you put it at the bottom?
Yeah.
Just to deceive it later.
Because that way it actually goes through, potentially. Because you would be building a stack in response to their first movement or their first evasion. And then they have a second one.
I'm just refreshing myself. Calculate stack, basic attack 3, modify stack 4, or plus 4. It should have been 4 plus. But while it's on the stack, its basic attack 3 becomes basic attack X, where X is the number of abilities on the stack. So I guess also if you don't actually know, if the 3 is good enough, but, doing 4 or more would be better. If the 3 is gonna, you're hitting your opponent, their champion for 3, because you, for some reason, and all of a sudden the stack starts going crazy, then yeah, I could see that being there. But what Bellum Chaos deck are you doing this in? Are you doing it in Kasha? Satir? Like, Satir, I don't know if you're running...
I'm just throwing out there as an option.
Hey, I don't see it in
someone out there will build
Satir. Kasha, maybe? I do want to see the Kasha aggro. Like, I want to see the Kasha fighter. I think that would be a really fun deck. But she just... I don't see the support there for it.
Kasha aggro. Well, that'd be... Yeah, that's a different one.
Yeah. Because everyone always leans towards Pain Imps, Blood Rakashas, and then the Death Eaters, right? So...
More of a hybrid build, yeah.
The other thing for Deceit I was looking at is a Malik deck. Because there's a lot of heavy hitting Malik things you could do. Rain of Arrows, his built-in attack for 4, a lot of things like this, and having a few Deceits. If you're running 3 to 5 of them, making sure you always have one in your hand, and just sitting on them for those right moments. And then you go do your heavy attack 4 for the game, they Chrono Walker, you Deceit it back on top, right? So I did see this. My first impression of the card was always it was the right card for Malik. Malik and Kendra. Because Nurem's an ability that you want to go through when you need it to go through. Like we're talking about Malfeasance. Malfeasance is a great option, but like some of these more built-in abilities that your opponent will evade at times, having a Deceit in hand, it could be super useful for that, right?
Are you using Malfeasance in Kendra? No. Are you using it
Isn't
in
it
Core?
Kendra?
I
Kendra
usually use it in Kendra.
In Kendra? Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one I was thinking of was Haunted Catacombs. So you play Haunted Catacombs, they try to evade the Haunted Catacombs, and you Deceit the Haunted Catacombs so it goes back on top. Sure. And that way it locks them out of the game.
So, for those who are watching, I'd love to get your input of like where you're using Deceit, what combos you see it for, or what champions you would see this card built for. Because I think it is one of those cards from Origins that people need to pay more attention to, or just like be on the lookout for. Yeah. Because that was the thing with Malicious Persuasion too. Like no one, it wasn't seen until it was seen a lot. And then a lot of decks were using them. There was a while where every single deck was at least running 2 or 3 of them. Even if you weren't a summoner, because defensively they were still just really great. So
there's a certain someone who I think is probably watching who doesn't run Deceit in a certain deck that they run. Or not Deceit, sorry. Malicious Persuasion. They don't run Malicious Persuasion in a certain deck that player tends to play a lot. And I have suggested to them many times that they should run it, but
is
if
it
they're watching still. No. no shoutouts needed.
All right. Cool. Are we good to move into our topic for the day then?
Let's do it.
All right. So the topic for today, this one I actually got written up. Move some things around. So Nubia Spellslinger, the only alpha deck that's still feasible, I guess is the perspective of it. I know this was...
Feasible?
Yeah.
Feasible?
What? How would you put it? How do you put it?
I think this is the sleeper hit. I think this is the deck. Like that. Okay, so there's a lot of backstory to this deck, and I want to get Alex to start talking. But
he wants you to own up to your mistakes.
So we have no. I don't think so. I think this deck is scary good because it does something consistently that a lot of decks don't have the answer for. And it can consistently win as fast as turn 3 with a good hand. And with, depending on what's happening. And the consistency comes from the extra card that Nubia has, plus the access to dedicated studies in those first 2 turns. Now, whether or not this is the be-all, end-all deck, it's still left to... I don't know if this is the best deck, but I'm pretty close to being... It could be the best deck. And I'm now thinking, this is an alpha deck. Where was everybody before? Why did it take till 2019 for Alex to play it? Miss on, like, what? Again, I want to get Alex's perspective. Just sort of fall short because of other, potential randomness that happened. I think it was 1 extra bolt shot or something. Anyway, I'll let Alex tell the story. But
before we get too far into it, can we explain the deck?
No, you don't have to, because everyone should be playing it already. It's been years since alpha.
Alex, break the deck down for everyone.
All right, you got some bolt shots as your energy costs.
How many?
I don't remember off the top of my head. Usually
A good number.
I think it's 12 or 14.
See, there wasn't enough in my original championship deck, which is because I heavily weighed more on the Tsunami at the time, which I think in the championship deck was 16-ish.
This is 12 or 14 bolt shots in Nubia.
Yeah.
Like, just to be clear, this is okay. Anyways,
so there was, I don't know, let's say 10 bolt shots.
Sure.
Usually about 4 to 5 Chrono Walkers. You just want one a game at least. Usually is enough to keep you around for that one extra turn or follow up if they move.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's, like I said, a whole bunch of Tsunamis, dedicated studies, and then pressure points.
Yep.
Were really it in the beginning. There was also a few gusts, I think, in the beginning thing.
I think
the main thing that lost me was the rebounds. I was running a couple of rebounds for angel decks.
And that's gone now.
And I didn't face any angel decks. I faced pretty much Rain OTK until the finals.
So
and then it was bolt shots versus bolt shots in that final, basically, because and then Steve-O had more bolt shots than you had in the deck currently.
Yeah.
So just to talk about why this wasn't around during Alpha, there weren't that many bolt shots circulating around during Alpha. There weren't that many Tsunamis.
Yeah.
There was nobody who had more than 10 Tsunamis in their collection, if even 5. Like, there weren't, because Tsunami came in the later mid part of Alpha print run. So there weren't that many Tsunamis. Bolt shot came around the same time. So Alpha just wasn't there. It had to wait until Beta. So
the deck existed in Beta.
Yes.
There was no Beta version of this deck. No one's being, watch out for this deck in Beta. Oh, this deck could happen, or like no one was.
That's when
playing
I built it. I built it in Beta.
Yeah.
Jay was out though.
Yes, for the championship.
The first time Alex brought it,
was in Beta.
Yeah. There's a video of Steve-O and Alex playing against each other for the first time. And it is that Tsunami deck versus Steve-O's Angel deck, I believe.
Yeah.
And Alex just decimated him. It was
I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah. It was one of the first videos I recorded, and then I did a voiceover, but I didn't watch the game. I came back and watched the video, the recording of it, and I was like, oh wow. Yeah.
So it did exist.
Yes.
But this is like, so outside of like, I mean, I didn't really know Alex in 2019.
No one did.
And I, I was doing a draft at that point. So I wasn't really paying attention to the game. But then even going beyond that, like through Jay, through Rays, I have never really seen this deck put together or played against this deck. And now I have always, I've never played Nubia in a competitive event. I've only really played Nubia a couple times when Necro existed, and then that's when I started playing Nubia. And that's my own personal take, and obviously I have missed out on all these fun times. But it's incredible to me that this deck now, okay, flash forward to Anime North, the top 2 decks were basically playing a version or semi-version of this with some variants. So you had Kun and Nubia both doing it. Even Sid's Kun deck a little bit, but it was more Substrike based, but it still had the undertones of just put all the damage in your deck and then just go face.
I don't know how I feel about that expression. Go face.
And well, I mean, but Alex and I tested a whole bunch of decks. Now I know it was just Alex and I testing, and a lot of that, and there was a few other people that showed up to it too. But I don't remember it being or showing performing that. Now that's a very small sample size, but I don't remember it showing up that predominantly as it has, or at least how it has been recently. And I'm wondering what was it when we were playing that was different.
The meta deck on the tabletop was the Will's meta deck, not my deck.
Not the Spellslinger. The Spellslinger was yours, wasn't it?
No, you added your touches to it, so it wasn't to pure.
I don't remember touching the Spellslinger version, but
yeah, like it's just to be on there, right? We could double check it.
I remember we talked about the hybrid.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And that was a major focus of the hybrid. But potentially, I know that focus of testing was the hybrid because it allowed you to do both things.
See, realistically, on a bigger scale, which even if you think about that 2019 championship really wasn't that big of a scale, that's where it really showed up for most people. But it didn't win, and as soon as a deck doesn't win, usually it falls to the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can even say Reign OTK sort of fell to the wayside because it wasn't that great. Like it didn't have a great.
It didn't win.
Performance. It didn't have a performance at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I disagree with that though.
Then the next time that I ran a deck was the Nubia hybrid, and it won. And now people started to play Nubia hybrid.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I had like literally up to that point, up to the championship deck, I just played that Nubia deck. It had a perfect win rate. It always won. Why would I play anything else? And then I did that. I'm like, it lost. All right, time to take a break, do something else. And nobody else really picked it up until recently. Where
And something to keep in mind also was even in beta, there weren't that many people who had really large collections. So even getting that many tsunamis was a challenge. You only got like 1 or 2 tsunamis per box, 3 if you're lucky. So you weren't getting a lot of tsunamis. That deck was running well into the double digits for tsunamis, at least 14 or 15. There weren't many people who had a collection of that caliber because by the time Welcome to Jailar came out, a lot of people were gravitating towards that, and they were looking for the Epiphanies. They were looking for the Shadow Claws. Bolt Shots were reprinted there.
Well, the Reign OTK took over, right?
Yeah. Reign OTK, Bolt Shots took over. Alim, Stone Protectors, Angels, those were all still accessible. There was a lot more of Welcome to Jailara that was circulating around. Still not that much beta. And then beta had that wonderful issue of the packs being in order. So there were people who didn't like opening up beta packs because it's like, oh, you hit the chaos stream and you're just getting chaos cards. So there were no randomization in the pack. So beta, that what held it back. Now, Tsunami should be pretty accessible. I'm curious to see if people bring back some sort of version of the Spellslinger. But I also think now there's a lot more evasion. You can't just build up your pure damage and come in and go for the kill right away. I mean, that's my feeling.
I would argue there's also a lot less champions with 25 health, which is sort of the next point, was that the Idris Blitz has always been the antithesis to Nubia because of the way it can do damage faster and just focus on Nubia at 20 health. But that was because Idris had 25 health and could hit from game 1. I did pull up the deck. There was the only thing that were added that were not originally or not on the build was, looks like there was 2 substrikes and 3 shutdowns. But
HEs, the terrible. How dare that, you've ruined it.
For sure. I don't know who added them in, but maybe it's me. I will take it. Alex won't admit it. I'll admit it. I'll add them in. And there you go. Don't listen to me and don't listen to anything I say.
But actually, I think realistically, the biggest thing you should talk about, just think about people even up to the last circuit looking for tsunamis.
Yeah.
They didn't have enough of them.
Like outside of very, very few people, there weren't many people who had that many tsunamis at their disposal. Even Ben saying this in chat, but he came much later. Getting tsunamis, before Origins was a nightmare. But even right after Welcome to Jailar came out, because there was so much more product of Welcome to Jailar that was sold in the first little while than the entirety of Beta. Beta really only was sold in 3 stores. There are a few stores that picked up a few packs here and there, but it was Welcome to Jailara that was the set that people were opening the most. So most of the meta decks in the first championship were based around cards from Welcome to Jailara.
So if that wasn't the case, if more people had tsunamis and this deck was played, do you think there would have been a official response based upon the power level of this deck?
Maybe. But my hypothesis is that a lot of people still wouldn't have run that deck because of how Summon Light it was. And at that time in 2019, even 2020, people weren't comfortable running Summon Light decks outside of the OTK. Yeah. Outside of that, if you look at all other decks that were being run, there was someone trying to attempt a Fong Summonless deck, But besides that, the summoners were the most comfortable thing to play for a very long time until I would say the championship last year.
Yep. I would say summons are fun to play.
Yeah.
Like it is fun to play creatures. You get more turns. You do more things. Your games feel longer.
Yeah.
But now all that to say, basically, game one, I sat down against this deck against not Alex, but a different player. And there's just nothing I could do.
Alex.
And there's literally nothing I could do, even when I had the hand to do it in. It was, game one was a little bit back and forth. I got down to, unfortunately, 10 health over a long span of like 4 rounds. And then after I was at 10 health, they just bolt shot me, and I had used up any of my movements that I had left. Mm-hmm. And then in game two, they double chronoed, 3 tsunami'd, and then bolt shot me the rest of the way. And it was just like, they played out their whole hand. And there was no punishment, there was nothing I could do for them overplaying. And then I wasn't dead. They had no cards in hand, but I couldn't kill 2 6 health Chrono Walkers before they would hit me once or twice. And it's just like, it's one of those moments where, the cards just all align, right? There's also a number of games on Saturday where I had 4 blocks or 4 backflips, and I only have 4 in my deck, and they were all in my hand. But that's card games. That's the nature of it. Yeah. But I'm since the Anime North we saw it. The Kun Burst sort of really revealed what you could do with a summonless deck. It's just really interesting that this has existed since Alpha, but now we're saying that no one could have even built it. Yeah.
It would have been extremely challenging to have the card pool to build it to begin with. And I don't think players were... like, a lot of people who are coming into Genesis at the first championship were still very new to the game. Coming in from other TCGs, other games, you're more comfortable having creatures out. It wasn't until we started seeing more players who are now, their primary game is Genesis, that we start seeing them deviate towards playing the creature-like decks. And Alex and Stevo were actually the first 2 people who I know who Genesis was their primary TCG. Like, leading up to the championship, everyone else who came there, I don't think Genesis was their primary game.
Right.
I know that happened with Stevo, that happened with Alex. I don't know when that happened with Alex, but by the time you came to the championship, I'm pretty sure Genesis was your primary game, right?
Yeah.
So now we're seeing more and more people who are having Genesis as a primary game. They're more comfortable going into the spellcaster or the fighter role compared to going into the summoner role. And I don't know. I would love to see more spellcasters actually take the stage, because it's funny because a lot of things that have happened behind the scene leading up to Origins, after J2 and Origins, a lot of conversations Alex and I had were like, how do we make the game have more punishment towards spellcasters, because they were just so powerful. And then no one played them for the longest time, became fighters. And it's like, oh, well, we were definitely afraid of something that never actually happened. So it would be cool to see spellcasters come out. I think there are some blurred lines there, though. Like, I mean, I know Kun has an energy reduction, which probably tends him to be a fighter, but he can still play spells just as well. Yeah.
But so thinking about it now in the next steps, because obviously we've now showcased it to everybody. Now everyone's going to play this deck. Awesome. What are the things that the deck is afraid of? And has Origins brought in anything like that?
Are you ready?
The way Alex moved towards a camo with that smile on his face, it was so
I watched it happen on Saturday. Terrible memories.
Ooh. Who did that? I don't remember that.
Kenny was running Terrible Memories.
Good job, Kenny.
And then as the opponents started playing their bolt shots, milling extra bolt shots, they're dropping Terrible Memories on them at the end of it.
You can't play it?
And then they just take tons of damage. I think you took 8 damage from a single 5 chi. Terrible Memories.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's good.
Nice.
It's a nice option. I was thinking, depending on, I'm not sure if it's the correct response main board, but maybe a sideboard like the Aura Purge, I think could definitely help if they do go for that dedicated studies. Hit them with the Aura Purge. They then mill 2. They don't draw 2, and they still discard 2.
Yeah.
So that's a good way to
Yeah.
mess with their day.
Yeah, that would hurt. And then, isn't there a... I don't know. I can't remember the Origins card pool so long. I remember there being a card that was like prevent damage that's not targeting you, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So protections go up against the bolt shots.
Yeah.
Tsunamis, yep.
That's what the deck's running primarily, right? So.
Yeah. Now it is pretty much the same cost.
Run the monkey. Just run the monkey.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put
the
it in
mute.
front of them.
The mute's good. Yeah, it can also be very.
They're running only AoEs.
The mute wouldn't stop the Chrono Walker going over
That's
top,
true.
though.
Yeah, the Chrono Walker would be able to get that.
Get around that. But yeah, it's definitely very interesting. There are some answers, and if it does begin to permeate through, it could be, those cards might need to see play, which could bring out some interesting counter.
The thing that held back the deck in the championship, 2019 championship, was the fact that Tsunamis were action speed. Because if I remember correctly, there was that moment where it was Steve evaded out of the Tsunami, and they just weren't close enough to play the other ones to kill him, and then he came in and just bolt shotted you to death. So it being action speed means that warp gets you out of those things, and any of those key evasions, right? Yeah, you just need to find something that can get you out of that space. Now, if someone's playing a lot of Tsunamis, hopefully they're wise enough to know how to capitalize on that space.
Well, that's what the Chrono really, like, I know when even like a diving juke that I played the one time, the Chrono allowed them to get back into the same spot after the diving juke resolves so that they could still hit, right? Or, hitting from that middle point. I think there's a lot of champions, especially, if you're below 24 health, like, that deck just could auto win on, opening hand almost with 7 cards, doing enough damage, but not necessarily. It still needs to get there. It doesn't. Yeah, because you've never run teleport.
You don't run tech to get there. That would reduce your damage output.
And you get 6 more cards by the time you actually interact, so it's even more beneficial.
Yeah.
If you rush to get over there and you can't kill them, then you give them the opportunity to win the game.
Yeah.
In a full burst deck.
So it being able to do that much damage means that it's doing well against casters and summoners, the champions with low aura, and like even summoners can't really put up walls because you're doing AoE. Yes. So now you're saying fighters are the big advantage. I would be curious to see how the deck fares against Iblis.
Iblis would probably be the hardest, which Will still thinks it's impossible to build a deck, and I didn't say impossible. Building a deck.
I mean, when you put her on the same level as Odara,
that's the second time you call me a bad deck builder tonight. Do we have beef? Do we need to talk this out afterwards? Gone are the days where Will and Alex build decks and talk about deck building. Now it's, you suck at deck building, play my alpha deck. Cool. Things have changed. I feel
you just not put enough alpha cards.
Friendship is tense.
You need to put more alpha cards in your Bliss deck. That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm enjoying Pari. That card is annoying to deal with without.
Don't play Essa because Essa only has 22.
AoE.
That fighter. Oops.
Yeah. Ben put up enjoying playing Pari. I haven't got a chance to play with Pari yet. I think there's a lot of cards from Origins I want to try out. I just don't get the opportunity to play as much as I want to.
Just remember, Pari's pack one, pick one, and draft.
I think Pari is, most players, from new players, watching them play, to build around. To build around. I don't know why. I think that's what I've seen. I don't know if
it's a well done piece of art.
Just really excited about the artwork.
There's a lot of text on that card. I mean, I was watching that's a side note. I was watching a professor video, and it was talking about how much text is on Questing Beast, and they couldn't remember how much is on it. So he has to look up the amount of text, and he's like, "Oh my, this is like a novel on this card." There's a lot of text on Questing Beast. There's a lot of text on Pari if you really get into it.
Nice. All right, cool. Anything else we want to dig in when it comes to this deck? Is the lasting advice everyone should go play this deck now?
I don't think necessarily everyone should play the deck. The thing is, it will beat itself. And in that case, what I mean is, like, if you're facing an opponent who knows the deck better, they will win the advantage. They'll find that point where it can get around it. Also, if you're not sure how to play the deck, you can really mess up what you're able to do and hit sort of a wall as far as resources go. But if you play it long enough and play around with it, you can definitely get sometimes some easy wins.
Nice.
Fair.
In the chat, Pari plus clone Sara deck. I think the clone Sara deck would be super fun to play. I don't know if you two have explored it very much. I'm sure you have, but I just really want to play the Sara clone deck.
Limited or in constructed?
I have some ideas for constructed. It's more just a fun deck than anything, but I don't know. Limited
kill
would
the
be
Pari.
Yeah.
If you don't kill the Pari and it starts gaining health, that thing is pretty much unkillable, unless you Purifying Wave.
Yeah.
Maybe Purifying Wave is going to be the 2022 card of the championship.
I don't know. I got Purifying Wave on the Saturday. I just rebuilt.
Alex, I'm trying to give them hope.
Just play summons.
Give them hope.
Just play summons. All summons all the time.
I am really curious.
No summons, go all summons.
Tsunami too.
All summons.
I'm really curious to see what the blend of old champions and new champions are going to be like in the coming circuits. Like this, yeah, it should be interesting. What are your feelings, Will?
I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything. I get in trouble when I say things. I have all the armchair Genesis players come after me, and they all like come after me when I say things on here about Iblis or about whatever. So I just need to not say anything.
We all know only.
And then now I'm a bad deck builder because Alex said so. So everyone's gonna just ride that out.
I'm trying to help you so people won't comment asking for advice.
There we go.
If I keep saying it, they'll stop commenting, right? Well,
there, that's probably.
Ooh,
they'll come to you.
right.
oh, jeez.
I think a lot of the
so
same decks are still viable. And by the same, I mean the Kuns, the Nubias, and the Idrises. I think those champions and their card pools, obviously the Bellum Axon card pool, hasn't gotten any weaker. And it's interesting. Whether or not there are decks that compete with the new champions, I mean, now we know what to test against, I guess. You can sort of, can you beat this faster, or can you outlast it, I guess, are the two options. Because you're not going to out-resource Nubia unless you're hitting her with fatigue. But, I mean, I've tried almost every fatigue build, and I don't think it's an all-in strategy. I think it's a splash or a sideboard option to bring in. But most fatigue is up close. And if Nubia is hitting you from far away or hitting you from the side, your fatigue's not really doing much. So, but still lots of time to figure it out. Or we'll just all run it at Dragon World. Everybody Nubia Spellslinger, Dragon World. October.
All right, so we got a few announcements and shoutouts and things that we should cover before we close things off. So there are some erratas. The erratas for Origins haven't been well spread, and it's one of those things that we're trying to do better on. But I know just saying it and exploring the libraries is not the best path. So we'll find other avenues to also share this information. But everyone who's watching, make sure you put it out there that there are some erratas. The first one that we've announced a while ago, but and now that people actually got it in hand because it was your spoiler, right? Well, with Electrical Storm. That was the first errata. That was, I think, the biggest one we found so far, where it's supposed to be action speed instead of swift. I think the thing that hurts me the most about this errata is, like, unlike Revenge of the Phoenix in J2, where that was printed at action speed but should have been swift, when you get it in action speed, you're like, oh, this card doesn't make sense. It doesn't do anything, and questions it, and then you have to go double check it. With Electrical Storm, you look at it and you're like, this is so good. I gotta play this card. So, yeah, that card needs to be at action speed. And it was tested, right? Like, the Future Leaguers actually tested it at Swift Speed and were like, no, this can't stay the way it is.
Will, you can talk about that. Will was in charge of that test run, right?
How was your experience playing Electrical Storm at Swift Speed?
So it was skewed because
Everybody was playing it.
everyone knew that it was going to be at swift speed, so they either just piled up on mutes, or they played it themselves, and it's just whoever had the most first. So yeah, it wasn't a great test, but I think even though no one had summons and you weren't really capitalizing, like 16 for doing 3 damage is not a great rate. I think it more answered if it were to be swift, what would happen, and you would see a lot less 3 health or less summons, which is a vast majority of the pool. And it would just be either big Titan decks or summonless decks. And then in my head, that would mean that the Electrical Storm decks would actually get worse because they're actually losing out on their resources per damage. So then everyone would stop playing Electrical Storm, which would then create all that. And you just have this sort of ebb and flow where this card is so powerful when summons are very prevalent. And then when Electrical Storm gets too prevalent, then the summons go away and it just sort of, up and down. And we never really get anywhere. But we could always test it again, or maybe just have it as Swift in Future League for now. But yeah, the test was definitely skewed because everyone knew what was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. As a Swift card, you can reach places very easily.
Not to mention the effect on limited would be first person to pull one. Okay, like you just go into it as fast as you can. Now it'd be a hate pull as well. You could definitely hate draft that very well.
So yeah, I would have been really happy if we had tested and all of a sudden it was like, yeah, this is fine. It's fine at Swift Speed. It would have been a really cool thing, but mistakes happen, and that's an errata that's on the website. It was there since or the Kickstarter product started getting shipped out, and yeah, it'll be a thing moving forward. Now the other two, a little bit more minor, which was block and innovative cover. So those two, if you haven't heard, those ones got errata to just say prevent damage to you, right? That was the part that was missing from the. So let me.
They're using the defend mechanic. So the defend is your normally response to your champion. Your champion is defending. The way that it was written or printed is that it sort of could nullify or prevent damage from anything, not even attacking or directed towards the champion. And then the champion would draw a card. Not to say that that's not something that could be explored down the road, I think is an interesting, but it wouldn't draw the champion a card if they're not. The whole point is they're defending themselves.
So the current wording is the version I have up on screen is the one that people are pulling. It says prevent the next 2 damage dealt by a target and blocks awareness this round. It's just by a target and blocks awareness to you this round.
Prevent the next 2 damage to you by a target.
And that's already on the website. And then there's another one, right?
Yes, there's a new one.
This
Shield
one's also
Major.
pretty minor.
Not even one of mine?
Shield Major says continuous instead of trigger.
Yeah.
Which is weird, it could be a feature. Improved counterattack. No, not on the stack.
So the counterattack is supposed to be trigger instead of continuous. I think this is also an interesting one because I played with Shield Major and I didn't even notice this. So
I know.
I think it's just intuitively but it could just be a tunnel vision thing. Like this is the way we expected these type of mechanics always to work. So we always see them as trigger, but a new player may see that. So I think
that's where some of it is some of these little minor ones are just what the card says, right? Or what the card's supposed to do, and then it's easy to miss little pieces. But those are up there, so that's good.
So I know that's one thing that has been on my mind is I know one thing we've been working on a lot, especially this year, has been communication is one of those things we need to constantly improve on. And we've got some ideas. We just need to start experimenting and see what works. So one of the things I ask for everyone who's watching Exploring the Libraries tonight, and just let people know that these aretas exist. They're on the website, and people can reference them. So that, and then the last thing is the circuit at Gig Harbor at Lost Star, which is coming up this weekend. That one's pretty exciting. Joey's heading out there to be the judge for that one. It'll be his first time judging a circuit. But he did a lot of the judging work for the Card Tavern tournament with Raphael Levy.
That's true.
So he has a lot of practice doing that. It's going to be interesting. And he's also hosted a lot of major events for other TCGs. So he has experience on being the host, doing all the judging. So I have the utmost confidence in him doing that. I think the thing I'm most interested about is, one, what is Steve-O bringing to that tournament? I really want to know. And two, what are going to be the other decks? Where is going to be that merge between Origins and
first Origins,
G2? Yeah. What are going to be the different decks that people will play with, and how well do the new decks fare to something that's been tried and true and tested a lot for a while? So, yeah, those are my thoughts about this tournament. What about you two? What are you looking forward to hear from this one?
I just want to know what the decks that people are playing. Hopefully, I'm not sure if they're going to be able to stream anything or showcase anything, or if Steve was taking stuff, or if Joey is, or whatever. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the outcomes are.
Yeah. I know Joey is looking at, not Joey, Steve-O is looking at doing a lot of segments for Other Side of the Coin during the trip. Like, they're going to be recording their travel and just talking about the process. So there's going to be, hopefully, some live streams coming out from that, which would be really cool.
It's going to be awesome.
Alex?
I'm excited to have no calls to being told that it is going perfectly, and they don't need any help.
Yeah, we have a lot of confidence that Joey's just gonna rock this entire thing. Everything's gonna be perfect. There's gonna be no issues at all. It'd also be really cool for me to hear the stories from Leslie seeing the community. Posters fell behind me.
It's because you uttered Leslie's name. Was it her poster that fell?
No. Oh, it was. That was the angel poster. It was the angel poster. It curled up and started attacking all the other posters. So yeah, Leslie's gonna not only see the community play, but also get to see a lot of the pieces of her own pieces that she hasn't seen yet. So that's gonna be really cool. I know, like, a Nerd Girl had a lot of fun at Gen Con seeing people play Genesis and doing demos herself. So yeah, I think that's gonna be really cool. So hopefully, what are people saying in chat?
Can you discuss decks at Gen Con?
The decks at Gen Con. Oh. Yes, I went as well because we don't have much time, but another person asked if there's lists from the circuit yet. At Gen Con, the computer that held most of the lists died. So those are gone.
Oh, I do have all the anime lists too. I just...
the Will's Ford in the anime circuit list.
That's on me. I'll take that one.
Andrew's watching. Andrew is the owner of Lost Star, so he's been watching this entire time. But yeah.
The top two decks was Fang Tigers was picked first place.
Nice.
Second place was Idris Blitz. I think there wasn't much, just the normal Idris Blitz. And then third place was Malik Killing Fires, followed by Joji in fourth place.
Joji's the only one who gets a shout out. To specifically say that he got fourth place. Oh.
Well, I gotta say, Joji, he took some of the advice from a deck builder named Will, and clearly dropped down a few places.
Oh. Now he's just getting vicious. Like, Alex is just getting mean. Okay. Oh, wait, we just have a minute, Will.
I still love
him. Yeah, so you don't have those deck lists then?
I have some of them.
Okay. Because I know the Coliseum Fate, they're trying to put a lot of the circuit deck lists. I don't know if that's still a thing that's moving on, But
Yeah. Because for the Origins, for the Gen Con one, we didn't have the physical deck lists, so I typed them up on the computer. So I have a couple of the people who brought their own paper deck lists.
Nice.
So I have 3, and then the rest are lost. The computer gods.
Yeah. Joey reminds us that Nerd Girl may show up for the Pacific Northwest event as well. So that'll be really cool. A lot of people coming out for that one. Oh, I'm getting like crazy.
That we could do. We can reach out to them and ask for them to resubmit their deck lists. We do have their info.
Oh my goodness. Leslie and Joey are making plans right now, and it keeps on like Messenger keeps on popping up. Blame it on Joey. All right.
It is 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, yes. I'm going to throw up the closing screen. I'll leave it up for a little while just in case there is a lag and it doesn't just suddenly go black.
Oh, yeah.
Like it did last time. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.